Hey, it is 8 minutes past 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and we often like to muck around on this show and be a bit silly sometimes, and sometimes we like to be serious, and this next particular guest is one such person. The person we're going to speak to, her name is Joanne Jones, but she likes being called Jo.
Yeah.
And she is
Found that out.
General Manager of Fundraising for a very important organisation, the Prostate Cancer Foundation of Australia. Good morning, Jo, and welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show.
Oh, good morning, gents, and thanks for having me today.
That's okay. We have got so much to talk about, but let's kick off with the PCFA. What do they do? I think it's fairly evident from the name, but tell us how you go about doing the stuff you do.
Yeah, well, Prostate Cancer Foundation of Australia supports men and families who are living with a prostate cancer diagnosis. Our areas of focus are research, so we can find better ways to detect, treat and defeat prostate cancer, support, so whether that's specialist prostate cancer nurses supporting men through treatment in hospital or via our telehealth line, or a support group. Peer-to-peer support is really important for men experiencing diagnosis as well, and then awareness as well, because there's a real gap in our community around prostate cancer awareness and its impact still. We go about that with community donations and support from fabulous people like you.
The awareness is as important as the donations, I have found, and more people are prepared now to go and have that check, which used to be deemed to be invasive, but the reality is if you don't do it and get under control. And the other important thing to remember from having a lot of discussion about this with my own doctor, that you can have the issue, but it can be managed, and that's the important thing that people need to understand. It's not necessarily the end of the line if you can get in early and have it dealt with early. And there's a high chance that every male's prostate at some stage will be under attack. But please go in, have the conversation, be open and honest about things with your GP, and it can be managed so it doesn't get to the stage where your organisation needs to do so much work to save lives.
Yeah, exactly. A diagnosis in the early stages, is really important. It gives men their highest chance of survival and best options when it comes to treatment for that diagnosis. You don't want to get to a point where you're being diagnosed at late stage, and then it can be a pretty horrific and sad outcome for families. So yes, we want you to be around for a long time. Your family love you and want you around for a long time. So yeah, just talk to your GP. It's just a simple blood test, not that scary, and then you can go from there.
We've been banging on this program for as long as we've been going about the value of an annual health check, whether it's your heart or, as you say, prostate or anything, those sorts of things. The best approach I've found is around your birthday, if you're over 40, go to see your doctor and say, I just want a health check, and they'll do your heart and they'll do a blood test. And the one blood test does all those different things. It's not as though you have to have 17 different blood tests for 17 different conditions.
Yeah, exactly right. You can ask for it to be included in your regular round of blood checks if you're there anyway. And it's a great opportunity to talk to your GP about what's right for you in terms of cancer screening and annual health check. And yeah, I think it's a really great opportunity to ask the question and make sure you're looking after yourself so you can be around for the long run.
Yeah, there's lots of silly conversations that young men have, and then they carry that into being old men about embarrassment of certain conditions and parts of the body, and this one is certainly the major one. But I think just being honest and open with your GP, once you've done that once and you develop a relationship where you're basically good friends talking about important issues, and there's nothing more important surely than your own health, it's just getting over that first hurdle. Don't be embarrassed about having these conversations. Once you've crossed that line, you'll find things will flow a lot easier, and you'll be in complete control of your entire well-being in that position. I think that's the first hurdle that you need to get over.
Yeah, and people are busy, right? It's really easy to kind of put it off or not think about it. And prostate cancer can have no symptoms, so you can think oh, everything's fine, I'm not experiencing anything. But as you say, if you can have that reminder close to your birthday, book it in, it can make a big difference in terms of your overall health and, your outcome. So, yeah, I get it. I get people get busy and put things off, but it's really important to keep up to date with it.
Yeah, because I think the other thing is too, I have a vague recollection of my grandfather towards the end of his life having some issues around his parts, I think was how it was described, which I suspect may have well been prostate cancer. These days, however, it's not a death sentence, is it? In fact, it's very much the opposite if you get onto it early.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, I love those euphemisms and the sort of whispered things around family history. It's something, I hear quite a bit. Like, oh, I think, this male relative may have had something going on, but nobody talks about it. It's a bit of a worry. I think we are getting better at it, but there's still a little way to go.
I remember there was an ad on the radio. I reckon it would have been 25 years ago, and I can't remember which particular health issue it was, whether it was mental health or something like this, where there were two blokes, and that sounds like a good name for a show. There were two blokes chatting, and there's even better name for a show. And one says to the other, "G'day, man, how you going?" And the other one goes, "Eh." And the other says, yeah, okay. Yeah. And the whole 30 seconds, these two fellas in the ad are just going, yeah.
Said nothing.
Said absolutely nothing. And then at the end said, yeah, anyway, see you later. And that, sadly, and I think they were both taking part in an activity, they stand next to one another to stand up, if you know what I mean, during the advertisement. And that sort of activity sort of underlined to me how stupid it is that people will grunt and nice day, isn't it? Yeah, how's the weather been? But they won't actually talk about their health.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and men often find it easier to open up while they're doing an activity. And while they're, sitting side by side, watching a sports game or, doing something like that. So that's really interesting as well, that there's still, something in that men find it hard to open up face to face. And that's why our community is so incredible, that we've got some fantastic volunteers, ambassadors, people who are so passionate about this cause and willing to talk about it because of the impact it's had on them and their families. So I'm always blown away by the bravery of some of our men who are affected, who are so passionate about spreading the word. And even though it can be difficult for some blokes to open up like that.
We have had a couple of conversations with a friend of the show now, David Parkin, who's been an ambassador for this particular cause, having been through it himself and being very close to too late to get a diagnosis. And he's done a lot of research, as he's prone to do, and he was staggered by the number of people who have no idea of their own family health history. So they don't know what they potentially might be more in danger of through hereditary means than others. And I think that's another thing that people should think seriously about. Ask some questions about what was that illness, Neil touched on it before, that no one would talk about with Granddad, and what actually did Mum and Dad, what health issues do they carry. So it helps you to be aware of your own circumstances if you understand your family history.
Exactly right. And when it comes to something like prostate cancer, you are at an increased risk if you have a family history with a direct male relative. So if you can get that information, it might be handy to know. But, obviously a PSA check is available to those who need it.
The other thing I find quite bizarre is that I fell down a step last week and twisted my knee, and I've happily told anyone who wants to listen that I may have torn a ligament in my knee, and I'm limping around looking like I can't walk, and we're happy to brag about those kind of activities, and yet these ones that are a little bit rude, as my mother would have called it, we can't talk about it. It's quite bizarre.
Yeah, it's interesting. It shouldn't really be any different than talking about your knee or your arm. It's all just part of the body. We need to get over ourselves a little bit, maybe, not to undermine anyone who might be feeling embarrassed or awkward. But you shouldn't. It's just part of the body. We're just getting on with it. It shouldn't be a big deal.
Joe, we were talking off air about the circumstances that families find themselves in these days with cost of living pressure, and there's not as much money available to donate to causes, and more people are maybe challenging what happens within causes, where the money goes. So in your circumstance, can you give the listener an idea of the money that you collect? Where does it go? What does it actually do?
Well, we've invested millions of dollars in prostate cancer research over the years, and that's been amazing. We've seen increased survival rates for men because of that research. My own father is here today because of the improvements in treatment and the care that he received. Funds also go to our prostate cancer specialist nursing program, and anyone who's had the pleasure of meeting one of our nurses knows how dedicated, caring, wonderful those people are. They're really there to hold your hand and walk you through the process, answer any questions, because sometimes doctors don't always come to things with the best bedside manner, or they don't really fully explain it, and having a prostate cancer specialist nurse there to help you through that process is really life-changing for men going through treatment. That's partly why we launched our telehealth service as well. So if you aren't in a region that has a prostate cancer specialist nurse that you can access one through our telehealth system.
Joe, you may have already answered the question by touching on your father's circumstances, but a young lady working in men's health, how did that come about? What drew you to this particular cause?
Yeah, so my dad's a prostate cancer survivor. I've actually been working in the cancer space for over 10 years, and yeah, it falls close to my heart, and getting to work with people who want to see change in the world and who are doing it for the people they love, find that really inspiring, and yeah, I'm really lucky. I love what I do.
And how does that affect the way you do it? Do you find people find it interesting that a woman would be doing this role in men's health, or has it been an advantage to start a conversation?
Yeah, it's interesting. So my world, and that's the fundraising world, is often quite a feminised area. A lot of women working in that space, which is really interesting too. And I find, I find getting to chat with men who are affected, I think they appreciate, having a woman to speak with. It's never been an issue, I don't think, for them to open up to me, and I think sometimes having someone who's got lived experience with their family puts them at ease as well. They're like, okay, she understands where I'm coming from. She understands the impact this is having on me and my family. And also a lot of the people I get to communicate with are actually those who are doing a fundraiser or supporting our cause because of a loved one affected. So I talk to a lot of daughters, I talk to a lot of wives and partners and sons, workmates. It's not just the men affected as well. So, yeah.
Because magically, through the magic of social media, Joe, at 10:30, which is in 8 minutes, I'm confident that if people go to the Two Blokes Chatting Instagram page or LinkedIn page or Facebook page, there will be a post magically pops up. And on that, I say, you are out there, undoubtedly, you are one of two kinds of people. You are either a male over 40 or you know someone who is. Like there is no other subset in the population. You are either over 40 and you're a bloke, or you're not, but you know someone who is. And so it is literally the person you are sitting in the room with, the person you're sitting in the car with, the person you're sitting in a workplace with could be affected by this, and therefore affect you as well.
Yeah, it's incredibly common. Prostate cancer is the most commonly diagnosed cancer in Australia. Around 1 in 5 men will be affected in their lifetime. So whether you know someone now, and you may and may not know that you know them, odds are you or someone you know is going to be affected by this cause.
So just stop and think about that for a minute. If you are a mad keen, and I know where you live, so West Coast Eagles or Fremantle supporter, on average, the people who run out onto the ground today, 3 or 4 or 5 of those will be impacted by prostate cancer at some stage in their life.
Yeah.
On average.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly right. When you think about, all the men in your life, sadly, it's likely, a number of them are going to be affected.
If you're standing in the queue at the pub waiting to buy yourself a drink and there are 4 other blokes in front of you, one of you, on statistics, will get affected by prostate cancer at some stage in your life. It's that clear and that black and white.
Yeah. No, it's quite true. And remembering it's not something you need to be scared of anymore because of the fundraising that Joe and her organisation have done and how that's been utilised. The way of treating this is so much better than it was 10, 15 years ago. And it's no longer a death sentence as it used to be. And it's now an opportunity to get onto it early, deal with it, manage it, and it's very easy to manage. And I know from my own circumstances and the conversations I've had with my GP, it is not a scary thing. So the important thing is, as much as this fundraising is important, it's important that if you are a 40-year-old male, go and have that chat now.
Or a 41, or a 42, or a 43, yeah.
Do not leave it too long, so you're aware of what's going on and you're able to take that check easy. On your birthday, go and see your doctor. Have a simple blood test and you're covering off on probably 8 potential, 40 years ago they would have been death sentences, and you can get on top of that and live a long and healthy life. So please do that, everybody, because it's not just you. When you're making that decision, I'll be right, don't think of just yourself. Think about wife, family, children, those around you that love you. It's a horrible, horrible thing going to funerals. It is awful. So please don't be one of those. Get onto it early.
So, Joe, the segment, and we have said this before to your boss, Anne, that we don't mind sharing the name The Long Run with you. You're using it as a fundraiser. We use it as an opportunity to whinge on our radio program. We are very strongly supporting you as much as we can. We are going to participate in the long run. What is the long run and how can people participate?
Oh, thanks, guys. Yeah, we were drawn to the name because we know when someone is diagnosed, they're often going to be in it for the long run, and we want them to know we're here for the long run for them as well. And so the long run is a challenge where people commit to running, walking or riding 72 kilometres across the month of September, which is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. And you can do that by signing up at thelongrun.org.au, setting up your fundraising page, tracking your kilometres, and getting sponsored by friends and family for completing that challenge and raising vital funds and awareness.
Now, as that happens, 72 kilometres is almost exactly the distance from the centre of Melbourne to the centre of Geelong. And you think, geez, that's a long way to walk, run or swim or ride. But if you work that out over 30 days, that's about 2.5 kilometres a day. It's not very far, and you'll probably do that anyway. So get off your backsides and start raising some money. But if you don't want to do that, I know a group of 3 blokes who are under the name The Two Blokes, because Grant's playing as well, who are going to do this for you, for us, for the foundation, and we would love your support. So if you go to, as I said before, the social medias after 10:30, you can sponsor. We've said we'll raise $1,000. If we can't raise $1,000 out of the audience that we've got, we are simply not trying hard enough.
Yeah, so let's get on to it, everybody. We've made the commitment as a 3. Grant is a regular walker. I've got to get myself back on the push bike. What's your skill area, Neil?
I have no skills, Rob, but as I mentioned, I have a dud knee, but I will be walking my 72 kilometres, I suspect.
Yeah, I think your knee will appreciate it as well.
So, Joe, if people want to know more about not just the long run, but the foundation itself, and may have some questions about prostate cancer, what is the best website for them to approach?
Yeah, absolutely. Go to pcfa.org.au, or use your favoured search engine to look up Prostate Cancer Foundation of Australia, and we'll pop up. Or you can go to thelongrun.org.au, and there's lots of helpful links and information there as well.
So that's PCFA, Prostate Cancer Foundation of Australia.com.au, or thelongrun.org.au. They're the 2 options, folks. If you want to participate in the event, I'm sure Joe and her colleagues would love to see your name popping up on the participants list. But if you don't want to, or you're not able to, then we would love to hear some support from you guys, from the audience. Let's raise some money for these people who are doing an amazing, amazing job.
Thanks, guys. It's fantastic. Really appreciate you. Not only raising the funds, but awareness and getting the word out there to your listeners.
Think both of them.
Yes.
No, there's more than that.
We're really happy to support this because I think we all know someone who's either suffering or is no longer with us because of it, and we know that this money is working. There is no doubt that the funds that you donate are definitely working because the stats support it. So please get involved, and we'll continue this fight against this horrible, horrible thing.
Thanks for joining us, Joe. Pass on our best to Anne, and we will, if not before, talk to you this time next year, I guess.
Good on you guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, Joe. All the best.
Joanne Jones, the General Manager of Fundraising for the Prostate Cancer Foundation of Australia. In less than 1 minute, he said, with his fingers crossed and hoping like crazy that social media scheduling works, there will be a link to our page. You can actually go and you can get your phone. I've made it so easy. There's a QR code. You can actually go there and you can just scan your phone. It will take you to the team page. You can either join the team. Oh, look, Rob Cameron has joined our team. That's exciting. He promised he would, and he now has. So you can either donate to the team, or if you particularly like Rob, or you particularly like Grant, or you can tolerate me, you can actually work your way through and actually donate against the individual. But all the money sums up, and it sums up to the long run. thelongrun.org.au or www.pcfa.com.au. Rob, as I look at the clock, bang, it's now 10:30. So we can go to that website, the Facebooks and the Instagrams and the LinkedIn, and you'll be able to find us.